With it being Pokemon Day earlier this week and us getting a full-length trailer for Pokemon Legends ZA at Pokemon Presents, it's the perfect opportunity to discuss my take on the next mainline spin-off game they should create. Last year I gave my take on the next mystery dungeon game known as Pokemon Mystery Crossings. Today, welcome to Big Flick Energy, and let's enter the world of Pokemon Let's Go Rotom. This game follows the same idea as Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, but following the story of Pokemon Platinum. Considering we just got Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl as reboots of the original Diamond and Pearl games, bringing in the Platinum storyline was necessary to not make this game feel repetitive. But so that it isn't too repetitive with those previous stories, we are changing it up a little bit. Another way to make it feel new and refreshing is to give Rotom a true basis of being important, unlike what Eevee and Pikachu were in their respective games. Obviously, they were pretty much the TM slaves where you could use Fly, Surf, all of that with those characters, but Rotom is going to have a much more impactful role to play in the story. This game will have more interactive features to use the beginner Pokemon. In this case, that Pokemon is Rotom. Similar to Pikachu and Eevee, Rotom will be able to acquire new exclusive moves based on having pixelated moves that are all different types, allowing for a fully changeable Pokemon by strategy. For example, you have Pixel Mine, which is Rock type, Pixel Drain, Grass type, Pixel Hunt, Ghost type, Pixel Punch, Pixel Wave, Pixel Blade, Pixel Freeze, Pixel Shock, and so many more. You can acquire these moves by going back to Professor Rowan's lab and inserting the gym badge in a machine they have there. In that machine, you can then send Rotom in, and Rotom will go in and fight against other Pokemon using one move. The move the badge allows Rotom to learn. The Pokemon it goes against are Pokemon weak against that type of move. For instance, Pixel Mine, which is a Rock type, that challenge will be against Bug, Flying, Fire, and Ice types. However, this game mode is different from normal battles in that it's just an army of these Pokemon that you fight using Rotom. You just run around in the digital world using Rotom and click A in the direction you're looking with Rotom to use the move on the Pokemon in your way. It's pretty similar to Call of Duty Zombies against all, except for the final antagonist of each level. The antagonist will be a randomly generated legendary from any generation except for Gen 4. This battle will be a normal battle where you have Rotom's 4 moves, along with what we'll call a temporary Z move, being the move it learns in the challenge as a finisher on the legendary. When you finish the challenge, Rotom has learned the move officially, but you must replace one of your main 4 moves to add this one. If you decline, you may always go back to Professor Rowan's lab for him to add the move for you by simply going back into the virtual game. You can skip the speed battle rounds and just battling the legendary, which will randomly generate each time, a feature that would allow for fans of all games to eventually face every legendary if they choose. When you receive all 8 gym badges, another special Rotom challenge unlocks. This challenge unlocks the capability of transferring Rotom to the Pokemon game of your choice, including Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, Sword and Shield, Pokemon Go, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Pokemon Home, Scarlet and Violet, Legends ZA, and future Switch games. You can transfer it in and out whenever you want. Rotom and Let's Go Rotom can also get in tight spots by traveling through electric currents to get on the other side of doors that are locked and need to be opened. If you do get caught as Rotom on the other side of the door though, by let's say a Team Galactic member, you'll be forced to battle opponents by yourself, without the trainer, where if Rotom loses, the game won't restart. But the trainer will need to find the original path around to get to Rotom, or else Rotom is stranded. It raises the stakes of the game since you won't have Rotom until you reach that point and reclaim it. Also at one part of the game, there is an aisle of Voltorbs and Electrodes blocking the elevator power for a building, which is a new feature in the game. Before going in, you take over a Pokeball's Rotom as you roll around the other Voltorbs and Electrodes to make sure they don't use self-destruct. Once you get through, Rotom activates the elevator and comes flying back to you. Rotom can do this to other objects as well besides a Pokeball. Therefore, Rotom can act as some sort of a Mario Odyssey cap combined with a BD-1 droid from Jedi Fallen Order, which will be the biggest feature for this Rotom. Some of these items are home appliances, your Pokédex whenever you open it and search up a description, Pokeballs, trucks blocking off roads, some pure Steel-type Pokemon seen in the wild after defeating them, like Bronzong, Metagross, Magnetone, and Probopass, and boats that take you places in the game. It will make the game's story much faster, but no worries, this has a solution I'll get into later for those that want a more complete story. While it will make the game's story much faster, it will also make for a more unique experience using this character in ways Pokemon could be used in the anime to help that are never really explored in the games. Rotom also helps you in catching Pokemon in a similar fashion to the Pokemon Ranger game, bringing back a feature from a longtime favorite spin-off game. In this version, once the Pokemon you're trying to catch is already in the ball, you can spin the Switch Joy-Con in a perfect circle over and over again, and it helps you in catching the Pokemon. Rotom spins around the ball, creating an electrical field around it. The faster you spin, the more it helps. However, if you mess up the perfect spin, Rotom cannot help in catching this Pokemon on this attempt anymore. Besides this, the game's characters are mostly the same as Pokemon Platinum, with the added bonus of trading your Pokemon for their Galar forms, Paleon forms, Alolan forms, and let's see if they decide to add new forms for the new Legends ZA game. This game will also bring back the Z Rotom power along with Z moves. While this will be almost the same game as Pokemon Platinum, Celebi will also join the story in a much larger role and continuously make appearances throughout the game. It will lead into a side mission where you must track down Celebi, who is trying to communicate something to you and to Rotom. Eventually, it will lead to the discovery that Team Galactic created Rotom from doing extensive research on Castform's ability to change forms, Celebi's ability to travel through time as they had captured Celebi at a point in time, and the Berry Pokemon's creation through being in proximity to Celebi for so long. But I'll explain more on the berries soon because this is the first time I mention it. So the story will go as follows. Team Galactic wanted to create a powerful mythical Pokemon of their own that could change forms at will. They sent a task force to the Hoenn region to collect 3 Castforms to do research on them in different environments. They were placed in this facility with one in a room exposed to the sun and extreme heat, one in an extremely humid room with water on the floor, and one in an extremely cold room with ice everywhere. They also eventually captured Celebi in a moment of shock, as it's a Pokemon never meant to stay at any given time for too long, as it only goes where it is needed and brings life wherever it goes. Research began on Celebi at this same facility, as it was allowed to freely roam the 3 Castform rooms and interact with them, but the Castforms could never interact with each other, as it would ruin the experiment. Now, because Celebi was there for so long, he gave new life to these 3 Castforms, leading to new evolution forms for the 3, with types of water, fire, and ice, which would be considered mythical Pokemon since there are no other versions of them. Versions of these 3 Castforms that would be catchable in the game. While they were being given a newfound life, Celebi's presence had a similar effect on the berries used to feed these Pokemon, giving life to what is actually one of the most recent Pokemon to come to the world in the form of Pecharunt, which is evidently a possessed Pecha berry. So I recently saw a video stating what all the berries could look like as Pokemon with the same idea of Pecharunt. So rather than me explaining it, I'll play this video, and I give full credit here to him for this idea, and you can find his full channel on Instagram at PenPaladin, as he has a lot more content like this.
This new Pokemon is based on the Pecha Berry. So what if other berries got mythical Pokemon? If you didn't already know, the Pecha Berry cures poison, so it makes sense that an evil Pecha Berry like Pecharunt would cause poison. That implies the existence of an electric type Cherryrunt. The Cherry Berry, of course, cures paralysis, so Cherryrunt would cause paralysis. The Chesto Berry cures sleep, so Chestorunt could be dark type and cause Pokemon to sleep. The Rost Berry cures burns, Rostrunt would be fire type and cause burns, the Aspear Berry cures freeze, Aspearunt would freeze the opponent, and the Persim Berry cures confusion, so Persimrunt would cause confusion. Yeah, I know Pecharunt's ability also causes confusion, but let's just roll with it. Now, Pecharunt has 160 base defense. You could give Cherryrunt 160 base speed, then Chestorunt 160 HP, Rostrunt 160 special attack, Aspearunt 160 attack, and Persimmon 160 special defense.
So with that, we would have a strong lineup of these mythical berry Pokemon that give inspiration for added research for Team Galactic on fusing the ideas of possessing inanimate objects like berries with changing forms of Castform and time warping capabilities like Celebi. So with that, the first Rotom was created and instantly caused havoc in the facility, unlocking the front doors, allowing Celebi and the berry Pokemon to escape, and this entire story happens right before the start of the game. Celebi wanted to bring you and Rotom here to show you Rotom's origin, but also that Rotom is yet to unlock its true ability of time travel from research done on Celebi, an ability you will now be set to try to discover. So that it doesn't seem like all of the Rotoms in the Pokemon universe can time travel, we're trying to make it that this specific Rotom learns the truth about the past, so the other Rotoms in the Pokemon universe will never discover that and will never be able to gain that ability. You will also discover that the doors for the 3 Castforms were never unlocked, and you can catch them all right there with Rotom unlocking the 3 doors. After this, the game will give you an option of going after Palkia or Dialga to eventually take on Giratina. But after this happens and you go to take on Giratina, the one legendary you recruited is not enough to contain Giratina's power and the world is reshaped. So you lose in a similar fashion to the Justice League in the Snyder Cut, where Darkseid wins and Flash runs back in time before Darkseid wins. So Rotom is able to travel back in time before the world was reshapen, and goes back in time to when you were deciding whether to go after Palkia or Dialga, and you decide this time, because of what Rotom tells you as the Pokédex, to split paths, so you go after the legendary from before without Rotom, and Rotom itself goes after the other to bring them together. In this mission, you are now Rotom, so you don't have to replay the same mission you did before. Eventually, you find the other legendary and attack it, resulting in it chasing you, and you must run away and lead it to where you found the other legendary. It will be an intense chase, nothing like what we've ever seen in a Pokemon game, where it's gonna pretty much be this giant beast chasing you through the city to try to get all the way to the other legendary, and you're gonna have to dodge moves. It's gonna honestly feel a lot more like what you would see in a Sonic game. That's eventually gonna lead to Palkia and Dialga teaming up against you as you take them on in a 2v2 battle. After catching both, the story returns to what it was in Pokemon Platinum, taking on Giratina in the distorted world. After defeating Giratina and beating the game, you'll unlock a new mission to catch all of the mythical berry Pokemon that are causing havoc throughout the region. After catching them all, you find out one of them actually escaped to a different region, Pecharunt, setting up the story it just received in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. The other feature that is unlocked will be time traveling to past missions and story points, where you can replay those stories with your old Pokemon team, but with an updated Rotom. If it's a mission that involves you catching a legendary or mythical Pokemon you may have failed in catching before, and you catch it the second time around by traveling back in time, when you travel back to the present, it will have been as if you had caught it and it will be in your PC. You can also travel back in time up until when Rotom was created, which to be fair isn't that much time, but you can do this and explore the Sinnoh region up until this time, a younger version. So, is this Pokemon Platinum, which arguably has my favorite story in a Pokemon game? Yes, but it's been modified so that a Let's Go game makes the Let's Go character actually important in the form of Rotom. You can actually catch both Palkia and Dialga. There's an extended side mission with Celebi. There are new battles within the PC that allow you to buff up Rotom, and there's a DLC at time of launch that lets you catch a myriad of mystical Pokemon and ties the story from this game to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So with that, we have my take on the next Let's Go Pokemon game by the name of Pokemon Let's Go Rotom, and what I really think should be the next game after Pokemon Legends ZA, and you know what? After Pokemon Mystery Crossings. I really hope they eventually see that video. Put a lot of work into that video. It was a lot of fun. I would love to see both of these games created. So thank you for watching this video. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If this is a game you would be interested in playing, what features, new Pokemon, new story points make you excited, if you're excited for Pokemon Legends ZA, if you would want to see Pokemon Mystery Crossings, and just your thoughts on Pokemon as a whole right now. Thanks again, and see you all next time on Big Flick Energy.